Hey everybody, Rob Kosberg here with Bestseller Publishing for our BSPU call. Since we're recording, I want to do an official introduction and all. But I have a guest speaker for us today, guest presenter, my good buddy Kevin Hutto, that a lot of you guys know, not all of you do. But Kevin and I are great friends. We play golf together a couple times a week. He and his family also moved to St. Augustine like my wife and I did. We've known each other for 20 plus years. And coincidentally, we happen to be in a similar business. Kevin has actually been running ads online since the 90s. Yes, that is even pre-Google, back in the day when the whole thing kind of got started. If he shaved his beard, you'd never believe it. But with his beard, he looks old school. It looks kind of gangster. It looks like he should be riding a Harley, which I may be close to talking him into. Anyway, so Kevin's going to be sharing in just a few minutes. And Kevin and I have been working on something really special that we will kind of roll out to you guys hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We call it the Automated Salesman. Any of you that were on the challenge, this past challenge, then you know about it because we've been talking about it. But what Kevin and I decided to do was we decided to roll out our versions of the Automated Salesman in our own business first. And so we've been working on it. Even today we recorded some content, which I thought was just killer, actually. Kind of behind the scenes stuff of what we're doing for our own businesses that you guys are going to love. And then we're going to do a presentation at some point in the next couple of weeks showing you guys exactly what we mean by the Automated Salesman. So all of that, maybe sounding a little mysterious to those of you who are not on the challenge, but just roll with it. In some ways, I think it could be like the Holy Grail for your business book to whatever it is you're selling, whether it's course or appointments or whatever. And it's really, really powerful. And what I wanted Kevin to share today, and I'm going to turn it over to him in just 30 seconds, is I wanted him to share kind of the basis, the foundation of where this idea for the Automated Salesman came from, which is really all about the different types of sales to be made. And I'll let him take over and share whatever he likes. He likes to go in different directions, so you don't know what kind of gems you're going to get. I just suggest you hold on and you'll enjoy this. So Kevin, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, my friend, for you to share your screen.
Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay. So I guess the idea behind this is that we run traffic for some clients and do some consulting and things, and there's always this sort of tug of war that happens in a business between the front end stuff, the sales and marketing, and then the back end stuff of delivery and operations. And the challenge is that many times business owners, you've got these two sort of philosophies of how to run your business. And the person who focuses a lot on delivering the best customer result and operations and really being high touch with their customer, many times their business struggles because they don't have a robust front end sales mechanism going on with marketing and sales. And so they grow by referrals and they grow over time, but usually it's a hard process to make it through those lean years until your referral thing becomes a big enough snowball. It can take decades sometimes for businesses to get to that point. But then on the other side, the person who comes in and runs a business and is a sales and marketing motivated type business owner can grow much, much faster, but then they end up many times building a business that ultimately implodes because maybe they don't do as good a job taking care of their clients, and they end up with a trail of tears behind their business as far as what kind of service they deliver or what level things are. And generally speaking, that tug of war that's happened for so long. Are many of the people on this call in the like coaching and consulting space, Rob?
Certainly a good number, but all different industries.
Okay, so in the coaching and consulting space, the wisdom that's being taught right now and over the last, say, 5 years is to automate your delivery and do it in a way that is like one to many, right? So originally coaching was sort of a one-to-one exercise. And so somebody got like real access to you. And, you know, over the last several years, there's been all these different frameworks developed where you could deliver coaching and just have, you know, some people I know have groups, and I've helped to build them. I'm actually, you know, responsible for some of these groups as far as the marketing side. You know, groups of 500 plus clients in these coaching groups. And, you know, the trick of that is how can you really provide individualized service when you've got 500 people that view you as their coach, right? And so what many times has happened is somebody ends up paying a guy like me to come in and be the guy who builds this front end out for them and runs the ads and helps set up the sales and all that sort of stuff. But the truth is honestly, I've been sort of unapproachable for the average business because I charge so much. And the reason I charge so much is because I'm not scalable, right? It's like there's only one me to come in and figure out your thing. And because many of the service and coaching and all those businesses are unique in what they're doing and offering and what their value is, you know, it's very difficult to really make it go if you're building out this bespoke mechanism every time. So what I've been doing over the last couple of years is envisioning a way to bring people into your world in a uniform way that is not nearly as individualized as the way it's naturally happening right now. Like probably you might get somebody that comes into your world because they see a piece of your content, or someone who maybe if you're running ads, maybe somebody else comes through ads and someone else is a referral and someone else has just been lurking for a long time on your email list. And they all sort of come in, you know, in different places. But the challenge is that when you have a trickle of leads coming in, the temptation is to possibly take people who maybe aren't the best fit sometimes for your thing, right? And so I guess the first thing, hopefully I'm not like just rambling here, but like the first thing that I think is probably important to think about is, can you see that?
Oh yeah, looks good.
Okay. So I've sort of narrowed it down to what I've seen through the years, that there's generally 4 types of sales that happen in a business that's not a commodity type business, but a business where you're selling something that is a service or consulting or coaching or something where there's a little bit of a higher level of client engagement that's happening, right? And this is certainly applies to all service businesses pretty much, and consulting and coaching and stuff. So the first one is the uninformed sale. And this is where you get, you know, your bait and switch type tactics, blind copy. Like, I don't know if you've ever bought something and you afterwards you're like, well, it's not exactly what I thought I was buying from the copy that I, you know, like blind copy is very common these days. Something I call the bully sale, which is if your sales ability on the phone is better, it is so good that you can convince people to buy your thing even when they probably aren't they're not making an informed decision. They're just doing it off the charisma or the personality. Like Rob and I have another guy named Rob, who has a coaching program, and he coaches accountants. And at the end of 1 year, a lot of his guys were quitting. And what we identified is that he is such a good salesman that he pretty much bullied these guys into buying his program. And they were just counting their days until they were finished with their contract. And they were honorable and they honored their contract, but you're not building a stable of happy customers that way. Another thing that happens a lot with the uninformed sale is selling what I call selling hot. And what that is like, if you're this happens a lot of times if you have salespeople who are representing you on the phone, and the salesman just says anything, whatever it takes to get you to buy the thing. It's like, yeah, Rob will come wash your car every week. We'll write your book and wash your car, right? So that's another one. Impulse buy, obviously that is something that might not apply as much to coaching. Sometimes I think it can still, but like a lot of times, if it's a lower ticket item, like a fidget spinner or something crazy like that, an impulse buy isn't bad. But if it's a high ticket item, impulse buying is difficult. And then fraud and dishonest intent, that happens these days with courses a lot. People that buy them just to get information and then refund. And then nut jobs. There's just crazy. There's just crazy people in the world, and they'll buy stuff without being informed about it. So the thing
and then make everybody miserable.
Yeah, exactly. So the things that does for your company, right, is you end up with angry clients or angry past clients or angry non-clients or whatever. It's, they're difficult for everybody. It's a strain on your delivery of your thing, whether that's you or whether that's a team. And then the last thing is what I call phantom revenue. You see sales and you feel like your business is doing better than it really is, because that revenue is going to get clawed back, whether through chargebacks or refunds or lost, operational efficiency and things like that. Right. So if you have anything that you want to jump in on any of this, Rob, just let me know.
No, that's good. I think we're going at a good pace. I mean,
okay.
We're laying the foundation. We're not going into the entire ASM or automated salesman, but this is kind of laying the foundation of the kind of clients that you ideally want, and the kind that you don't, but that sometimes we get these clients simply through superior marketing or superior salesmanship, and it ends up being a disservice both to yourself and to potentially the client. I think that's where you're going with it.
Yep. So the second kind of sale is the emergency sale, and there's usually an external catalyst involved in this. I'll give you an example of that in my business. I get people that reach out to me all the time that never want me to run their ads because of the cost until their ad account gets shut down from the other person who is running their ads. And then they're like, hey, I wanted to first off see about hiring you, and second off see about you getting my ad account back because we got shut down last week or yesterday or something.
Right.
I have literally half dozen of those messages sitting in my messenger box right now that I just don't reply to them because I don't need those kind of clients. But other examples is like for a plumber, when the toilet's overflowing, or I used to do work for a drug rehab back in the day, about 5 years ago, and one of the avatars of a customer was a drug addict who usually is under 26 years old, living on the street, and they're out of drugs, and they want to come to treatment immediately because they want to get the medical detox so it won't hurt as bad. So the name of the game for the emergency sale is speed, quick follow-up. You have to have availability now. You usually got to be on call 24/7. It's not applicable to all business models, and it's certainly not a predictable revenue stream. It's not a predictable way of getting sales. Unless maybe you're a plumber and you're dealing with a large geography, then there's enough toilets that go out every day, probably. So the what it does for the company and what kind of client it is, these are usually short-term clients who need a specific thing. The loyalty is questionable. Sometimes you can win them over as clients because you've done something really great for them in the short term and saved their bacon, right? But generally speaking, it's questionable. You can't predict that they're going to be loyal clients because of how they came in. It's definitely a strain on delivery because you have to drop everything, or somebody on your team has to drop everything and attend to this emergency situation. And then lastly, it's not predictable revenue, because if you're not in an emergency business like toilets or something like that, then there's not going to be enough of these emergencies for you to run a business on it, right? So then that brings me to number 3, which is the education sale. And this is the backbone of what most coaching, consulting, and service businesses are built on. And this is a very predictable way to sell your business. It's why you write a book, right? Yep. I'm sure Rob's talked about this. The book is the ultimate education piece. If somebody reads your book and your book is good, then you're probably going to get a customer out of that if they need that type of service at any point. And so, this is where the person's doing some investigation, and they're looking at different solutions and approaches and providers and all these different things. And the education process allows them to develop a level of comfort with you as the provider of the solution or approach that they decide on. And it's like the KLT is the know, like, and trust thing that everybody says that's what someone has to do to want to do business with you. They got to know, like, and trust you. And it's sort of like when you go into a department store in the mall and the lady walks up to you as soon as you walk in the door and says, "Can I help you?" And the natural reaction is, "No, I'm just looking." Even if, like me as a guy, if I'm in your store, I'm not just looking, I'm buying, right? I don't spend time at the mall by choice. I'm there because there is something that I want today, right now, need. But it's still my instinct to want to get comfortable with the store before I, come back to the same person 10 minutes later and say, "Okay, yeah, I know what I want. Here's the thing. Can you help me get it?" The key with the education sale is that the higher the price, the more connection and credibility that you need. And so the process, depending on what you're selling, has to be in line with the price and the engagement level that you're asking people to work with you on. And so that sometimes the process for the education has to take a longer time for people to self-educate themselves and to be able to build that. Like, if the person at the front of the store started just telling me about what a great store it was, even after I said, "No, I'm okay," it would drive me out of the store. So what I naturally have to do is walk around for a few minutes and feel like, okay, this is the kind of clothes that I want to wear. It's not like leather pants or something. I know you
chaps,
I know you Harley riders. Yeah, you Harley riders want to put on leather pants, but I'm not there yet.
Jeans are fine, actually, for Harleys, Kevin.
Okay, good. So this education sale, this really is sort of what we do in the high ticket, big ticket selling business, and anything over $1,000 is probably a big decision for people. So they want to educate themselves. And this is the backbone of your business. You can build a predictable, 7-8 figure business off of this kind of process repeatably. Like I've done it 100 times for clients. So these are the best people that you want to work with because they're making an educated decision. They are not going to, they might have a little bit of buyer's remorse, but they're not going to just bounce away from you or any of that stuff. They're going to stick with the process. Their loyalty increases as they see you fulfilling your promises. It makes your delivery, your operations, and your delivery of the result that you promise them, it makes it predictable because you see these people coming in the same way, the right way, all this sort of stuff. And it also is predictable revenue because you build something like this and so on and so forth. The one negative of the education sale is it's expensive because you got to pay many times to keep touching these people until they're ready to do business with you. And so, like Dan Kennedy says, is the most expensive thing is getting a client to begin with, and that's where this is coming from. And then do you have anything to say about that, Rob,
I do.
before?
Yeah.
I figured you.
Yeah, I think the education sale is a lot of what we talk about, and even the point that Kevin made about as price goes up, connection and credibility need to go up as well. So, often I'm asked, Rob, I'm looking to sell something that is $5,000 or $2,000 or pick a price point. And, there typically is a threshold where, if you're in the, 2,000 and under, maybe in some cases 1,500 and under, a sale like that can be made with education without an actual telephone call. So connection can be a little lesser. However, once you get to over $2,000 to 3, 4, 5, and add a zero, 30, 40, 50, there has to be an education process that eventually leads to a one-on-one telephone call that's more about, connection, trust, and continued education. So the education sale, there are a lot of elements to it, and there's elements to it also dependent upon what it is that you're actually selling, whether it's a course or coaching, group coaching, one-on-one, whatever it is. So, and keep that in mind, especially as we talk more about the automated salesman, because these things all kind of roll together.
Yeah. And part of what we're getting to eventually is figuring out an entry point and sort of a Trojan horse way to bring people in and have them self-select into whatever you're wanting the ultimate journey to be. But the last sale type is the order taking sale. And essentially they end up as an order taking sale for several different reasons many times. Some, like the one that is probably most familiar with for most of us, is like a really strong referral. Somebody has just said, hey, you got to do business with Deborah here because she will get your stuff done right, and she did it for me, and she's trustworthy, and so on and so forth. And when that person gives you that level of, stamp of approval, you're pretty much trying not to screw it up. It's like your job is just to you're taking the order at that point. You're not having to sell them on you anymore. And so repeat customers are the same way. Like someone who's had a good experience with you in the past, and you have something new that might be a fit for them. Many times, it's like, okay, that they're ready to buy something else. And that's the order taking sale is the ultimate best feeling in the world to me, right? It's like, who doesn't want somebody to come in and say, yeah, I'm ready to buy. The other place where order taking happens is people that are at the end, generally the order taking sale happens on every education sale at the very end, right? When they just sort of turn themselves in and say, I'm ready to buy. Also, people who maybe go through your education process, look like they're going to be a sale today, and then disappear for 2 months or 3 months. And then they come back.
Right.
And when they come back, they're ready to go. And if you're running any sort of volume in your business, you know that there's going to be like some percentage every month of people who come from 3-6 months ago and say, yeah, you know, something happened, my house burned down and I wasn't able to, and I, you know, didn't want to tell you that, and or whatever, you know, my credit cards all got shut down because I don't pay my bills, but now I'm paying them again and I'm ready to go. Whatever their reason is that they couldn't do it at the time, they've worked that out and now they're ready to go. And then, so that's one. I personally am a self-educator, and that's my nature. Is I don't want you to sell me, but I will stalk you and find out if you're a good doobie or not. And I've got this lady who wants us to run her ads, and I stalked her and realized that she's a nut job. She's like number one at the top. So I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? It's like it's a reverse stalking. I'm firing her as a prospect. But I'm a good buyer in that I will figure it out on my own very quickly if I want to buy from you. And usually, many times, I'm the guy. I called a program. This guy had a piece of software that was $7,500, and he wanted to make me watch this 3-hour-long webinar to buy it. And I was like, dude, if you'll send me a link, I'll buy it now. And, you know, it took like 2 days for them to get me just a link to buy it. And finally, I bought it, and then I realized that it wasn't what I needed. So I was like,
of course.
Yeah, you know. But
should have watched the webinar.
I know, but I didn't refund or anything. I let him keep my $7,500. Anyways. So the point of it is the order taking sale is like the lay down, you know, that's the one where it's just like, makes you feel like you're, you know, like life is going to be great forever. But the cool part is, like I said, okay, well, I'll go to what it is for the clients and company. It's backbone clients, same people, built-in loyalty, predictable delivery, cheapest cost of acquisition. But the problem is it's unpredictable, right? So my goal is with this automated salesman, but in general, what I've been working on for a couple of years now is kind of smushing 3 and 4 together to where you can have the process spit out these order taking sales on the back end, and you're not having to sort of move the needle on your sales mechanism. And I'll, do you have anything to say real quick, right? Or I'll go into the next.
Yeah, a couple of things, and then keep going. But you know, I talk about this with a book a lot. You know, the challenge with a book is, on one hand, it's this great educational tool. On the other hand, it's a completely one-sided conversation, meaning that you don't even know someone is reading the book. You have no idea of who's engaging with it or not. And the same is true with a video. If you know, someone opts in to watch a video, or you send a video to somebody, these things can be great educational tools, but the negative is that they're very one-sided. On the other hand, the two-sided element of qualifying and closing a sale, that is necessary, especially high ticket, which is a telephone call. The negative and the downside to that is that those calls can be cumbersome and a pain, especially if you're still like not completely sure that the person is qualified. So, you know, you don't want an unqualified person on the phone, meaning that somebody that really doesn't have the money to buy from you, et cetera. And so, you know, smushing, as Kevin said, you know, bringing 3 and 4 together and dealing with the negatives is really like the holy grail, right? It's like, can we have an education process that's two-sided? Maybe there's some one-sided elements, but for the most part, there's a conversation, and also can it be that if it does require a telephone call, you at least know that the person is ultra qualified and it's not cumbersome?
Yeah. So part of what the challenge is with the education sale process and all of it is like understanding how the traditional model has worked for the longest time, right? So the old school sales model, you've got like these parallel things happening, like what's happening on our side and what's happening on the prospect side. And, you know, if we go back pretty much, like I worked at Bear Stearns from 92 to 97 and made my business, my job was to make my job was to open accounts and, you know, talk people into sending us $10,000 to buy some stock. But the model that I was taught was you have to make 100 contacts every day and talk to 100 business owners. That took close to 1,000 dials every day to do that, to accomplish it. And, you know, as far back as that or further, you know, there's something that is causing the person to be interested and raise their hand and say, I want to talk to you, you know, whether it's a newspaper ad, yellow pages, networking meetings that people used to do, referrals, TV, radio, these days, the internet, social media, etc. There's something that has caused people to say, you know, I'm a prospect here, right? And so the old school model that we used to work through is, you know, usually there's an initial call where you do discovery and you sort of talk through their thing with them and ask them a lot of questions and dig in and all this sort of stuff. And then usually you set up another call where you say, well, you know, let me get my team to work on this and come up with something for you that's gonna, you know, work and solve your problem. And so you generally just tweak a standard engagement that you normally have with the elements that make most sense for them. And you set up and you have another call. And that's when you tell them about the thing, right? Like, here's what it is, and here's what we think it'll do, and here's all the stuff, and so on and so forth. And then, you know, usually they want to like digest that and think about it. And so then you set up another time. You know, it's like, what do you do at the end of every call? You set up the next call, right? So then you have a closing call, and usually on that call you sort of handle their objections and you know, work through it and try to. This is the traditional like enterprise selling model. Like I learned this from a guy who was the head of sales for lawyers.com, Martindale Hubbell. And this was after my Bear Stearns days. This was when I back in 2004 and 5, I had an agency where we did work for Swiss Army and Patagonia and a bunch of e-commerce brands. And this is how we closed them all. And so you have the closing call, and then after that, you have to follow up because, you know, you're not going to close most of them. And then you follow up and you just keep beating them. And eventually you get some of them to relent and sign up, right? So that's our process that has been proven in the corporate world to be the process. And if you're the prospect on the other side, you know, it's like how you're feeling. You're going from ice cold, you're warming up, and then you hit into a comfort zone. And in the ice cold thing, it's like the time's too short. There's not enough info. I don't trust you yet. Not sure I even need you. Do I even want this? Warming up, maybe I could use this. These guys seem okay. They actually showed up for the call on time. That's a big decision. I don't want to make a mistake here. Maybe I should wait. And then eventually you cross over that chasm of trust. And then you're like, okay, I'm in, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. And you feel more comfortable, et cetera. Well, the problems of this model is that there's lots of man hours involved in closing a sale. And some version of this is what people do now with the selling high ticket services. Like if you guys, I know David who works for Rob, who might have sold some of you guys your book thing. This is probably some version of how you guys went with him. You know, it's like, it's not every day. I don't know what package you guys came in on, but you know, usually people don't write a check for $10,000 up to $50,000 without talking to somebody multiple times, et cetera, right? So this is kind of the thing. But the challenge with it is that these man hours raise the cost of goods sold significantly on a business for acquiring a new customer. And when the COGS go up, profits go down. And especially if you multiply this times 2, 3, 4, or 5, because for every person that closes, there's 3 or 4 that don't, that you spent this, 3 to 9 hours with. And if you're a one-man gang here doing this for yourself, this is the reason why you're having trouble scaling, even if you charge $50,000, because there's only so much you can do, right? And that's the challenge of it. The second piece is that having this much time in the thing of manual work by yourself or someone on your team, that when that thing is that slow, then it messes up what's called your revenue cycle management. And what that means is that your money's not churning fast enough for you to be able to reinvest it in growth in the business many times. It's one of the reasons that most realtors don't scale their business, because they don't get paid for 90 or 180 days, and they don't manage their money well enough. They take it all and spend it on a big Hummer and put their picture on the side of it.
Wrap it, maybe wrap it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They wrap it with their face. And so you feel this greater sunk cost in lost deals that you have, and it can make you have bad habits, like taking non-fit clients because you spent 6 hours with them on the phone, and they're going to be a pain in the butt, but you just don't want to cut it loose because you've got this sunk cost invested in the work that you've done trying to sell them. And Rob, feel free to jump in at any time. I know
keep going. It's good.
Okay. So the other challenge of this is that it increases your business's complexity, because the way you scale with this model is by what? Hiring more salespeople. And when you hire more salespeople, then eventually you hire bad ones, and you got to fire bad ones, which is always fun. You also have to hire managers to manage them. And then you've got to hire HR people in California to manage the managers, and so on and so forth. And your business turns into this, non-fun thing that you're now doing. And you're thinking, man, I'm doing, 4 times the revenue, but not making that much more money, because it's all going to these other people that I don't even want to deal with in the first place. Is anybody on here an HR person, Rob?
I don't know.
I was going to say, I've never in my life thought, man, I really want to hang out and hire a bunch of HR people to help me figure out how to be compliant with California HR management practices or whatever. It makes your business cumbersome and big and all these sort of things. And the next thing is that the leverage that you have is linear. It's one-on-one. It's like one-to-one growth. And because of that, as you add levels of management, it decreases your margins. So there's no 1 + 1 when you're doing it this way does not equal 2. 1 + 1 equals 1.5. And I've learned that the hard way over being in business 23 years for myself. 1 and 1, they always tell you that it equals 3. In my experience, it rarely equals 3. It usually equals 1.5, because you got to pay for somebody else to manage the 1 and 1. And then the fifth thing is it's not consistent. You have the human error factor. You have the human motivation factor. There's shortcuts. people have bad days, their girlfriend broke up with them or boyfriend broke up with them, whatever. There's misaligned incentives many times, like because someone's getting paid a commission to make a sale, are they going to be incentivized to protect the business and not bring in a nut job? No, they want to make that commission, right? And so they'll sell hot, they'll bring in bad fits, they'll do all these things because they aren't you. They're not the person that is going to be, and this is only, obviously this is stuff if you don't have a sales team that you aren't dealing with yet, but if you're.
But you still have to watch that for yourself.
Right, that's right. Well, that's the bad habits that are tricky for yourself, right? So anyways, so the dream is of a sales model is to be able to sell with 0 man hours or very close to 0 man hours, because then you can sell without having to consistently ramp up the team or yourself or something. The second thing is to compress the time period that people do the self-education and bring someone from cold to warm to hot much quicker than this process of, hour to 90-minute phone call, wait a few days, hour to 90-minute phone call, that whole old school process. The other thing it does clearly, if you can accomplish this, is it simplifies things because there's less staff for sales, less staff for management, etc. It creates leverage. In other words, you don't have to grow your staff size to be able to sell more, because you can buy more clients with the advertising mediums that are available today with Google and Facebook and LinkedIn and things like that. So you have the ability to bring on people without having to bring on team members on the front end. Now, you might need to bring on more team members to service those clients, but that's a good problem, because the better touch, the higher touch and the better service you give on the back end, it strengthens your business over time, because you have all these good results out in the marketplace, and they're just going to work for you, right? So that's that. And then lastly is, if you can do this, then it creates predictability in your business in such a way that if people come in the same way every time, then you're going to have a consistent delivery expectation from those people. If some people come in hot because, Joe needed a new refrigerator this week and he had to close somebody, so he just said whatever needed to be said to get a sale, that's different than if someone's coming in an automated fashion where the promises are consistent and there's, like a real sort of uniform way that they're expecting to be treated once they come in. So client uniformity is one of the keys to scale, because then your delivery team doesn't have to create a bespoke experience every time. They can work a process. And so that's what having sales uniformity. There's a great book called Traction and another one called Get a Grip by Gino Wickman. And they talk about this process they created called EOS. And EOS is this way of where you, like, it's this very complicated management process system and all this. It's not complicated. It just takes a lot of time, right? And one of the big problems in it that they talk about is the combination of the sales and marketing team to the product and delivery team, and how the sales and marketing team is always lobbing turds over the fence that the delivery team has to like polish and turn into something, right? and so that's what you don't want, is this sort of, antagonistic nature of the sales and marketing function to the delivery and operations function. And so the idea is, instead of trying to automate the delivery and all that side, is to possibly try and create a Cyberdyne Systems T800 that will do that for the sales and marketing function. So that is
in some ways that's the problem, right? What we did is, I mean, we've already been going close to 50 minutes, so
Sorry.
probably don't need to. Well, you explained it in great detail, and that's good. We're recording all of it, and Jeanette asked if we could get copies of the actual images that you have there. So
Oh
if
yeah,
you
happy
would
to.
send those to me, I'll post those in the group.
Sure.
So, a lot of what Kevin outlined and we discussed a little bit is, the utopian idea of these are the good things that if we could find a way to hold on to them and not have to face any of the challenges, the issues, whether you want to scale or not, right? I mean, whether you just want to have a lifestyle business where you're making even 7 figures and you only have yourself as an employee, maybe an executive assistant or something like that, but it's all automated to the point where whoever it is that you're speaking to knows exactly what you're about to speak about, is qualified, and is ready to, move forward. Obviously may have some questions, but has been greatly educated along the process. So,
yeah. A lot of the stuff I was talking about has to do with people who maybe they've graduated from that part you just talked about, and then they hire these teams and they end up with even bigger problems, but it all stems from the same root challenge of this sort of tug of war I was talking about at the beginning, whether you're the person tugging against yourself
yeah.
or whether you succeed enough that you're hiring people and now they're tugging against each other. But it's the same, like you said,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, and scale, scale, it means different things to different people. Like, some of you may have in the past already had the big business with lots of employees, and you don't want to do that. You want to move away from that, but you want to scale your income. You want to go from a couple $100,000 a year to $1 million a year, and the only way you've ever known how to do that is via hiring employees. And, at the end of the day, you're still making the same money, even though your top line revenue is more, considerably more. And so a lot of this discussion that Kevin and I started to have was, and we both, I mean, our businesses are both about lead generation. I mean, ultimately people come to me because they want a book, but usually the underlying factor is because they want to generate leads, or because they want to be, more well-known. You want people to be more educated in your process and get to you, in a way that allows them to become a client more quickly, more easily, simply, all of those things. Become the hunted instead of the hunter. And so what we're talking about is there a way for us to bridge technology and some of this other stuff, as Kevin alluded to, the Terminator reference of the Cyberdyne, T800, what is it, steel or whatever that alloy was.
Hyper alloy endoskeleton.
Hyper alloy endoskeleton covered by flesh and
Human
blood
tissue.
and muscle and tissue and sinew and all those things. And so short version is we're we've already started recording some trainings and putting some stuff together, and in some ways this is the foundation of all of that. So if you have any questions, shoot, let's talk through those if you have any. If not, that's totally fine. This is in some ways an announcement that we're going to be rolling some stuff out to you guys and having some more training where we're putting more of the flesh on the exoskeleton, which we haven't quite done at this point, other than to point out why we're doing all of it, which is, valuable.
Yeah. And we like I've done this for some of our clients that we were, that have these 8-figure businesses, that coaching businesses, who wanted like a more predictable front end. And so it's sort of it's a morph. It's a like, this is morphed over the last couple of years from that. And I think it's a good, it can work for any business.
Yep. James says automated funnel with online advertising on the front end. Yeah, in essence. And the automated funnel part is, not as much a funnel as it is a conversation. And that's, the point is to try to get people not just to consume the education, but to consume the right education and to find out what their real needs are, and address those real needs. And that speeds up the process, and it also brings people to you that are ready to move forward, or that say, no, it's not for me. Now I understand it's not the software I want to buy, and I'm out. instead of I got to buy it and go through it to see it's the software that I don't want. And in Kevin's case, he didn't refund, but a lot of people would have. So
yes. So the old school sales model that I was showing is like the one-to-one model. It's like one sales guy on a phone call with one person, or in some cases it's many to one. It's a whole team that is jumping on. Like in our case, it was always 6 of us on the phone with these other guys from the other company. And usually like only one smart person in the whole group. But then, things have moved from like one to many, which is like a webinar or something to answer his thing. The challenge with those processes as they've gone, I mean, I've spent tens of millions on webinar funnels for clients. And the challenge is that it's harder and harder and harder to make those profitable. And the reason why is because, it's a one-sided conversation to what Rob was talking about. It's like you record a webinar, like when it's live, that's like a one-to-many where it's, like the people have a chance to ask questions, but then you record it and take it evergreen, and it becomes like 0-to-many. But the problem is you can't, like, many of the guys who are running scale on webinars right now on Facebook, they are making like 2-to-1 returns at best. And you can do better than that on YouTube in certain markets. Like we're doing like 6-to-1 on YouTube for clients, but it's only in certain markets, not in all markets. But the deal with all of it is it eventually arbitrages away the cost of the clicks because of advertisers being in the same market. Everybody will bid a little bit more until the point where nobody's making any money. I mean, I've been running ads a long time, and it just always happens that way. There's always some sucker willing to pay $1 more than you for the thing, right? And so the key, I think, is to be able to automate a two-sided conversation where you're able to have some of the elements delivered via your terminator, and then some of the elements delivered by that little 3% of human tissue that you need, so that you're able to move the person forward in a way that feels comfortable and like you're not being just managed here or handled, but also you're able to let these people self-educate and move quickly forward. So
awesome. Let's end it at that, because we've almost been going an hour, and a couple of people have already had to jump. And actually, you and I are supposed to have a call in 2 minutes ourselves anyway, as we continue the automated salesman conversation. But just know that over the coming weeks, and maybe we'll do this again on the next BSPU call a week from today, but just know that what we're doing is kind of laying the foundation for something that, whether you're selling a course on the back of your book, whether you're selling an appointment with a qualified person because there's a high ticket sale, we're building out a process that, especially for authors, is like incredible, because the book is the best bait that we found, to bring people into this world. Okay? So Nikki says, got to bounce. Bye, Nikki. Any last words, Kevin, or are we good?
No, just happy to engage with your authors here.
Awesome. Great to see you guys. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Every week, we're posting tons more content to help you to publish, promote, and profit. So go ahead and subscribe now to the channel and click the bell icon to be notified whenever new content is available. And if you're interested in my latest book, Publish, Promote, Profit, just go to publishpromoteprofit.com.